What if I told you she didn't leave because you weren't enough? She left because you forgot who you were. That fire, that focus, that edge, you let it die the moment you started making her your everything. You see, women don't leave men who are grounded. They leave men who lose themselves. You weren't abandoned because you lacked love. You were abandoned because you gave too much of it without boundaries. You started chasing, explaining, and proving. You made her your sun and forgot you were a universe. When you collapsed into orbit around her, she stopped seeing you as a man and started seeing you as an option. She didn't fall in love with the man who begged. She didn't cry over the man who kept texting after being ghosted. She didn't respect the man who lost sleep while she partied. She fell in love with the man who had a mission, a man with silence behind his words and distance behind his eyes. She fell for the one who made her feel like he could disappear at any moment because his life was bigger than hers. But you gave that up. You folded, you cracked, and now she's gone. But here's the part she didn't expect. You waking up, you pulling yourself from the wreckage and becoming someone she can't touch. Because while she's out there feeding her ego, you're about to become ice-cold, stoic, and unshakable. It's that silence that will haunt her. That emotional control she can't manipulate. That indifference that cuts deeper than any insult. When a man lets go of the woman who left him and walks forward without bitterness, something terrifying happens. He becomes untouchable. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You need rebirth. She thought she left a man in pieces, but she's about to realize she triggered your evolution. If you're done bleeding for someone who didn't care if you healed, if you're ready to become your final form, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. She left. I rise. Number 1. The cold truth. She didn't love you. She loved the power. Let's stop lying to ourselves. She didn't love you. Nope. She loved the version of you that made her feel unsure. The version that had discipline in his life, boundaries in his mind, and silence in his phone. She loved the feeling of trying to earn your attention, of wondering where she stood. Not because she's toxic, but because that's how human psychology works. We crave what's scarce and chase what's not guaranteed. She was hooked on the thrill of pursuit, not the safety of possession. The moment you turned all your focus onto her, when you started saying yes to everything, replying instantly and canceling plans just to be available, that's when she started to check out. You weren't a man anymore in her eyes. You were a mirror reflecting her importance. And mirrors get boring when they stop challenging us. She didn't fall out of love with you. She fell out of obsession. That spark she once had, it wasn't love. It was the rush of trying to lock down someone who didn't need her. Once she felt like she owned you, that spark died. You gave up your edge, and with it, her respect. You thought being softer, more available, and more emotional would bring her closer, that vulnerability would inspire her to stay. But the truth is, it made her see you differently. Not as a man to follow, but as someone she could control, someone who bent, shifted, and broke to please her. Deep down, that killed the attraction. She didn't leave because you weren't good to her. She left because you stopped being a challenge. You became predictable. The moment she stopped wondering if she could lose you was the moment she no longer cared if she did. Let that sink in. She didn't love you. She loved the power you gave her, the emotional access, the control. But here's the twist. When you stop needing her validation, when you go dark and focus on yourself, when you rise like a storm with nothing to prove and nothing to say, that's when she feels the emptiness. That's when the silence starts screaming, because she didn't want your love. She wanted your strength. And now that you're taking it back, she's the one who loses. Number 2, Her attraction dies when you beg. You thought showing her how much you cared would save it. You thought pouring your heart out, confessing everything and begging her to stay would somehow bring her closer. Nope, that's not how attraction works. Attraction doesn't grow from desperation, it dies in it. Every time you begged, every time you texted, "Please just talk to me." Every time you tried to remind her of the good times, you weren't pulling her back, you were pushing her further away. In that moment, you weren't a man standing on solid ground. You were on your knees, emotionally naked, giving her all the power while stripping yourself of dignity. She may have smiled, she may have told you she needed space, but inside she already made her decision. Women rarely leave physically before they leave mentally. She was gone long before she walked out the door. Begging only confirmed her choice. You became predictable, weak, and emotionally dependent, and that killed the mystery. It killed the challenge. You weren't the man she was once drawn to. You became the echo of a man clinging to what he thought was love, but what was really control. You weren't loving her. You were fearing the emptiness of her absence. That's not love, that's fear disguised as devotion. Every message you sent, every voice note, every paragraph, every apology didn't touch her heart, it touched her ego. She didn't feel closer to you, she felt above you. And once that dynamic flips, once she feels she can do better, she mentally checks out. Women don't chase men who chase them. They chase men they can't fully figure out, men who walk away first, men who know that begging isn't strength, it's self-betrayal. The man who pleads is the man who's already lost. Here's the deeper truth. When you stop begging, when you go silent, when you vanish into your mission without explanation or drama, that's when the seeds of regret get planted. Not because of manipulation, but because that silence forces her to sit with her own choices. No more emotional supply, no more attention, no more ego boost. Just you out of reach, becoming colder, sharper, and stronger. That's when she replays everything. That's when she questions. But by then you won't be waiting. Number 3, you think you lost her? She lost a fortress. You're sitting there thinking you lost something valuable, like she was the prize. Like her walking away was the worst thing that could have happened to you. Nope, flip the script. You didn't lose her. She lost access. She lost a fortress, a protector, a man willing to ride through hell for her. She'll realize that the second she finds herself in the arms of someone weaker, someone who doesn't have your patience, your loyalty, your presence. That kind of energy doesn't grow on trees. It's built. It's forged in silence, struggle, and solitude. She walked away from all of it like it was disposable. You think she leveled up? Let me tell you something real. When a woman trades stability for stimulation, it's not evolution. It's self-sabotage. Right now, she's caught up in the illusion, the attention, the rebound, the flood of empty validation. But that all fades. And when it does, she'll remember. Not your texts, not your gifts, but the way you made her feel safe. The way you handled storms without flinching. The way your silence could speak louder than her drama ever could. You were her anchor until she mistook your stillness for weakness. And you forgot who you were. You saw her walk away and convinced yourself that meant you were less. But let me ask you this. How can someone whose whole being be broken by the loss of someone who couldn't see their worth? You weren't destroyed, you were reminded. Reminded of how far you drifted from your standards. Reminded that peace doesn't come from holding on, it comes from letting go. Because you weren't meant to chase people, you were meant to build empires so powerful that losing you is the loss. This isn't about her anymore. It's about reclaiming your throne. Understanding that a woman walking away isn't the end. It's the beginning of your return. She lost a man who would have gone to war for her. A man who would have built with her, protected her, and led her. She didn't lose a boy. She lost a fortress. One she'll never step inside again. Number 4. Emotion is her playground. Logic is yours. The second you try to fight her on her terms, you lose. Emotion is her weapon. It's her home turf. She was raised in it, shaped by it, fluent in its language. She knows how to twist words, how to flip the script, how to cry at the perfect moment. Not out of malice, but out of instinct. It's survival. Emotion is her chessboard. But you were never built to win in that arena. You're not supposed to out-emote her. You're supposed to outthink her. See, every time you reacted, when you got angry, defensive, or needy, she won because your reaction gave her power. It gave her evidence that she still controlled your inner world. You were trying to reason with someone who wasn't operating in logic. You were pleading with feeling. You were trying to apply order to chaos. That's not strength, that's confusion. And it's why she lost respect. She didn't need another emotional mirror. She needed a rock, a man unmoved. Stoicism isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's choosing logic over panic. It's watching a storm rage while you remain still. In that stillness, you regain power. Not by yelling, not by ghosting, but by no longer engaging with drama you didn't create. When she sees that her emotional spikes don't move you, when her silence is met with your focus, when her games are met with indifference, everything shifts. Because women don't regret losing a man who chases, they regret losing the one they couldn't shake. She'll test, she'll provoke, she'll try to resurrect the emotional chaos just to see if you'll bite. But when you stop reacting, when you stop trying to explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you, that's when you win. Not just over her, but over yourself. Because self-control is the rarest form of power. And once you master it, nothing and no one can manipulate you again. Number 5, detach or be destroyed. Attachment is the root of your suffering. Read that again. The pain you're feeling isn't love, it's attachment. It's your mind clinging to a fantasy, not reality. You're not mourning her. You're mourning the version of her you created in your head, the one who would never leave, who would appreciate your loyalty, who would see your worth without needing to be reminded. But that version never existed. The longer you hold on to her image, the more you bleed for a ghost. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing your happiness to depend on something outside of yourself. You stop trying to control what isn't yours to control. That's pure Stoicism. Epictetus said it. We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. You judged her leaving as tragedy. But what if it was freedom? What if it was the divine reset you needed to rebuild yourself with sharper edges and cleaner boundaries? Right now, every thought about her, every scroll through old messages, every fake scenario you replay, it's draining you. You're investing energy into a past that isn't coming back. And every second you do that, you delay your evolution. You delay the moment you become truly dangerous. The man who wants nothing, fears nothing, and needs no one. The man who doesn't attach but chooses with clarity, not craving. She walked away, let her go. Stop asking why. Stop hoping for closure. The only closure you need is this. You showed up as a man ready to give. She wasn't ready to receive. That's it. Simple, clean, done. Now you get to build a life so full, so focused, so untouchable, that even if she tried to come back, there'd be no space left for her. Not out of bitterness, but out of peace. Number 6. Don't improve to win her back. Improve to forget she exists. Let's be clear. Self-improvement fueled by the hope of her return is just another form of emotional slavery. If every gym session, every book, every dollar earned is secretly motivated by a fantasy where she sees your progress and comes running back, You're not leveling up, you're still chasing. Chasing in any form is weakness. You don't become powerful to impress someone who left. You become powerful to outgrow the version of you that tolerated being left. You see it all the time. Guys hit the gym, get fit, stack money, move differently, but still check her story, still stalk her profile, still wonder what she's doing. That's not transformation, that's obsession dressed in productivity. And obsession is just dependence with better branding. She doesn't need to see your glow up. She doesn't deserve a front row seat to the man you're becoming, because the man you're becoming isn't doing it for applause. He's doing it for himself. When you really improve, when you're genuinely about growth, something changes inside you. You stop caring who notices. You stop hoping for validation. You start living like a ghost to your past life. Quiet, focused, unreachable, and that's when real power kicks in. Because nothing haunts someone more than watching you become everything they couldn't keep and realizing it has nothing to do with them. Improving for revenge, that's petty. Improving for peace, that's permanent. You don't need her attention. You need discipline. You don't need her to regret, because the real flex is being so far ahead that she's irrelevant. Her chapter's closed. You're writing a new book now. Not a sequel, but a whole new genre. Number 7. When you go silent, she goes insane. Silence is not weakness, it's war. The moment you stop responding, stop checking in, and stop giving her even the smallest piece of your energy, that's when the dynamic flipped. She thought she had you wrapped, thought you'd linger, thought you'd stay stuck in her orbit, watching, waiting, hoping. But when you go dark, when you disappear into your purpose without a single explanation, that silence screams. Trust me, she hears it, because silence is rare. Most men chase, they beg, they flood her with messages, memories, and desperate attempts to keep a dead flame alive. That's noise, and noise is easy to ignore. But when it goes quiet, when you vanish without a trace, that's when the panic starts. She'll check your profile, wonder why you're not watching her stories, question if you've moved on. And the more time that passes without a word, the louder your absence becomes. Your silence becomes the mirror she didn't ask for, but now has to face. This isn't about games. This is about self-respect. You're not going no contact to win her back. You're going silent because you're done speaking to people who don't value your presence. You're done performing for someone who applauded your pain. In that silence, you reclaim everything: your focus, your time, your power. Every day you stay quiet is a reminder to her and to yourself that you no longer operate from emotion. You operate from discipline. Eventually, she'll break the silence. Maybe with a hey, maybe with a reaction, maybe with a random excuse. But by then, the version of you who cared will be long gone. She'll reach out to the man she left, but you'll be a stranger to her now. And nothing is colder than a man who no longer needs closure, attention, or revenge. Only Number 8. She'll come back when you've outgrown her. Here's how the cycle works. She leaves. You hurt, you chase. She ignores. You go silent, you level up. And just when you found peace, she resurfaces. It's not magic, it's psychology. She feels your absence, she sees your growth, and suddenly her closure starts to crack. Deep down, she expected you to stay stuck, to stay wounded. She expected your world to pause without her in it, but it didn't. You didn't fold, you adapted, you evolved, and that haunts her. Women often come back, not when you're broken, but when you've rebuilt into someone they can't access. When your focus sharpens, when your energy shifts, when your social media doesn't mention pain, doesn't chase attention, doesn't show weakness, but instead shows silence and success. That's when curiosity turns into regret. That's when she wonders if she judged too quickly. left too soon, or underestimated the man you could become. Just like that, the power she once held starts slipping. But here's the twist. By the time she comes back, she won't be returning to the same man, because the man she's thinking about no longer exists. You buried him. You created someone colder, smarter, someone who doesn't open old doors, not because he's bitter, but because he's busy. Now she becomes the one trying to prove her worth. She becomes the one seeking validation. She becomes the one chasing. You don't need to block her. You don't need to post cryptic messages. Just keep growing. Keep leveling up so relentlessly that she has no idea who you even are anymore. Let her reach out. Let her feel the distance, but never shrink to fit back into the space she left you in. Because the real win isn't getting her back. It's being so far ahead that you don't even look back. Number 9. The day you feel nothing is the day you win. You don't win when she texts you back. You don't win when she watches your story. You don't win when she says she misses you. You win when it doesn't move you. When her name shows up on your phone and your pulse doesn't change. When the thought of her no longer sends a shockwave through your chest. When you realize she's not special anymore, she's just familiar. That's the real freedom. Not getting her back, but getting yourself back. Unbothered, untouched, unshaken. Pain is part of the process. At first, it hits like a storm. You replay every moment. You question yourself. You feel rage, sorrow, confusion. That's normal. But if you sit in that pain without numbing it, without reacting, without chasing, you burn through it. You don't suppress it, you outgrow it. One day, it just fades. The memories lose their grip. The fantasies dissolve. The person who once had emotional power over you becomes a footnote. Not because you hate them, but because they're no longer relevant to who you've become. Indifference isn't apathy, it's control, it's power. When a man no longer reacts emotionally to what once broke him, he becomes dangerous in the best way. Not to others, but to his old self. To the version of him that tolerated disrespect, that begged, that doubted his worth. That man is gone. What stands in his place is someone who doesn't need revenge or validation, just progress. The day you feel nothing is the day you win. Not because you've stopped caring about life, but because you finally care more about yourself than someone who walked away. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Number 10. You are the prize. Start acting like it. Let's get this straight. You are the prize, not her, not any woman. Not because you're flawless, not because you have it all figured out, but because you're building, striving, grinding, getting sharper every day while everyone else is distracted by cheap dopamine and fake validation. You're the prize because you're choosing growth over comfort, discipline over chaos, and purpose over popularity. But none of that matters if you keep putting her on a pedestal and shrinking yourself just to keep her attention. The second you made her your goal, you gave up your crown, and she felt it. Women can sense when a man doesn't see his own worth. When he puts her at the center of his world, and guess what? That's when she starts losing interest. Not because she's cruel, but because she's wired to be drawn to strength, to certainty, to a man who doesn't need her to feel whole. The moment you treat her like a goddess while acting like a servant, she subconsciously starts looking for someone who doesn't. But here's the truth. No woman validates you. You validate yourself through your work, through your focus, through how you carry yourself when no one's watching. You are the prize, not when you say it, but when you act like it. When you stop over-explaining, stop chasing, and stop proving. When you walk away without looking back, that's when she feels it. That's when the shift happens. And whether she comes back or not, it doesn't matter, because you're no longer chasing queens, you're building your kingdom. You are the prize when you no longer care about being chosen. You are the prize when your standards become non-negotiable. You are the prize when peace becomes more attractive than her body and purpose louder than her voice. She thought she walked away from a man who'd wait, who'd crumble, who'd spend the next year trying to win her back. But she didn't. She walked away from a man who was asleep, who just woke up. You're not chasing her. You're not trying to prove your worth. You're not sitting by your phone hoping she changes her mind. That version of you is done buried. This isn't about her anymore. It's about becoming so focused, so disciplined, so unavailable that no one ever gets to fumble you twice. You didn't lose her, she lost access. And what's worse for her than losing your love is realizing she'll never be able to get near it again because you've become untouchable, silent, resilient, and stoic. You walk with purpose. You sleep in peace. You move like a man who doesn't chase but attracts. From now on, the only people allowed near you will be the ones who recognize your value without you having to scream it. This is your rebirth, your new standard. And from this point forward, you never fold again. Let her regret, let her watch, let her wonder. But you're gone, building, becoming, ascending. If this resonates deeply with you, if you're ready to walk in your power and never look back, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I don't chase, I evolve, keep walking forward. Eyes up, heart cold, mind clear.